With work going remote, VPNs won't cut it anymore. They're inefficient, complex to manage, and introduce significant security risks. How? They create transmission bottlenecks and increase latency. They require extensive administration and are difficult to integrate. And they expose endpoints to the internet, increasing security risks. Simply put, they hinder productivity, leading innovators to replace them with zero-trust networking. With Netfoundry's Network as a Service platform, you immediately solve your VPN problems while revolutionizing your long-term remote work strategy. Delivered as a service with cloud-native orchestration, your private global networks can be created in minutes. From here, microsegmentation and policy-based controls provide true zero-trust connectivity to any app, device, edge, or cloud. Once connected, dynamic routing optimizes app-specific connectivity, unleashing productivity from anywhere. So what are you waiting for? Transform your network today.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us on this episode of RaDex Unboxing Digital. Even before COVID-19 shook the country, there has been an active push from both the government and private sectors to expand and digitize services to benefit Filipinos from all walks of life. Because of the immense effort to re-engineer systems and processes, not to mention the cost of shifting to a digitized way of doing business, it is a task that companies gradually grow into at their own pace. The new normal, however, provided a greater impetus to innovate services amidst a backdrop of on and off community quarantines, mobility restrictions, and a vast shift to more online and virtual activities. To adhere to the call of the government, we at RaDex share the burden of recalibrating and adjusting our operations to adhere to safety and social distancing protocols to ensure that not only our business, but more importantly, our people will be taken care of. Indeed, COVID-19 has greatly disrupted and changed the way we run and conduct our business. But because of it, however, we were able to speed up our digitization and adopt new practices that resulted to higher cost efficiency in the long run. Being one of the most trusted internet service providers in the country, we at RaDex took it as our responsibility to equip businesses with the appropriate tools that will allow them to pivot to the right path towards digitization. That is why we created RaDex Unboxing Digital, a mindshare hub in partnership with the world's leading tech companies and software providers, where we unbox best practices from around the world to benefit local companies. Together with our partners, we thank you for joining us again this morning, and we hope that through RaDex, we would be able to impart some know-how and tech savvy to propel your organizations forward into the age of digitization.
Hello and good morning to all. Thank you for sharing your Friday morning with us. Life in the new normal dictated the speedy and prevalent shift to online activities.
This included adopting remote work,
to lessen warm bodies within an organization and adhere to safety protocols set by the government.
As your workforce conducts business outside your offices,
Your network becomes more vulnerable to cyber attacks. That is why we cannot stress enough how important it is for companies to prioritize network security, because any breach would entail cost to your company, possible impact to your revenue and profit, but more importantly, to your reputation. Companies commonly use the virtual private network model. VPN is a technology that simulates a local area network.
between two trusted networks. In practice,
This allows two elements such as workstations, servers, printers, and the like to communicate with each other. However, in a study conducted by Gartner, by 2023, 60% of these companies would replace the remote VPN from 10% today. And this is driven by a vulnerability and exposure assessment. Case in point, in 2019, one of the popular pawn shop chains was hit by a cyber attack. This resulted to over 900,000 client information compromised. In this data theft, the hackers would probably have obtained access, authorizations via social engineering, a practice that involves manipulating people by gaining their trust in order to retrieve information. Because the VPN model is not entirely secure, governments and enterprises are starting to recognize the need for zero trust. Zero trust is a cybersecurity paradigm focused on resource protection and the premise that trust is never granted implicitly but must be continually evaluated. When applied, it is a model that allows remote access
and is therefore emerging
as one of the key solutions for CIOs and CISOs in the coming years. In today's episode, our partners at Netfoundry shall discuss the following: how zero trust improves security in an increasingly cloud-oriented world,
Second,
how to implement zero trust strategy in your network, and lastly, how to manage it. Now the good news is, we have this service available for you, our Radius Cloud Express, or RCE for short. RCE offers the speedy delivery of
data, secure and efficient network,
that requires no hardware or physical networks, making it stand out from traditional approaches. Organizations can spin up zero trust, application-specific networks in minutes, even in a multi-application environment that integrates seamlessly with leading DevOps tools while simultaneously providing reliable cloud connectivity. Legacy networks are incompatible when we talk about digital transformation. Only app-specific networking can deliver the speed and security for businesses to thrive in the next normal. So as we live out the next normal, let your legacy be a secure and efficient network that ultimately safekeeps your company's performance and reputation. At this point, let me turn you over to our main speaker, Mr. Philip Griffiths, Vice President and General Manager for Global Business Development of Netfoundry. Philip has spent his career helping C-suite executives realize their goals for digital transformation, not only with Netfoundry, but previously with Atos IT Services as well.
as a subject matter expert, he has
Spoken regularly at events that tackle topics from DevOps
IoT,
to cybersecurity. We hope that today's session convinces you to adopt a faster, more secure, and efficient
efficient model.
for your network.
Thank you and enjoy the rest of the day.
Time today and for Radius on putting this event on. I am Philip Griffiths from Netfoundry. I look after our global business development, and we're going to be talking about the evolution of zero trust and specifically how build in replaces bolt on within the context of enterprise security and connectivity. So first of all, let's look at why. What is changing for global businesses and organizations that are looking to stay relevant? Well, we have velocity increasing, and specifically those who have the best velocity have the fastest growth, have more innovation, and have higher margins. If you look at the landscape of IT over the last 20 years, we've seen the evolution of applications into SaaS, the evolution of data centers into IaaS, PaaS, and other consumable functions. And the biggest thing for these reasons is so that we can drive more velocity. We can benefit from the innovation of others and build on top of it. At the same time, we have huge security organizations, security issues within the organization. Many organizations have innovation impeded because they go, is this secure enough? Can I roll it out? How does it fit within my risk management framework? And organizations are therefore trying to figure out, how do I enable people to innovate, but without creating gray IT, without creating these holes and risks within my business. And then alongside that, we just have the explosion of data and of edge. We have this continual change within the industry, from centralization to distribution, from mainframe to desktop to cloud to edge and IoT are becoming huge now. And because of that, we see the explosion of data, we see the explosion of the usage of the internet. So how does this fit to zero trust and the context of security? Well, the best way to think of it is to roll back a bit. What was traditional security? It was perimeter-based security. It was the castle and moat. And a lot of people say, well, it was better than nothing, but that's not a compliment. We built up zones, and each zone had a certain level of trust or privilege, and you went from the least secure to the most secure, and fundamentally, it meant putting stopgaps in the network, but it had big disadvantages: the lack of intra-zone inspection, the lack of flexibility, single points of failure, difficulty for users. I once spoke to a customer that their users had to go through 7 different process steps before they were able to access an application. They used to hate it. And when you do that, users have a poor experience. If people have a poor experience, they try to avoid security. And then you have this dichotomy of more security, people try to avoid it, worse experience, less security, better experience, but more risk for the organization. And so, within that context, we have virtual private networks, VPNs, IPsec, SSL, the traditional technology that was created 20 years ago and people unfortunately are still using. They are the greatest backdoor into people's organizations, because effectively we're saying the thing on the end of this VPN is trusted, and the server on the other end of this VPN is also trusted. And therefore there's this establishment of trust. And therefore someone on their remote laptop can get direct access to applications, to the privileged zones. And so effectively, as we look to declare that network location has no value, which is a core premise of zero trust, we see that VPNs are obsolete, because VPNs are network trust, and network trust is bad. So what is zero trust? Well, it is actually inversely the ability to trust, or to have more trust, because we simultaneously say we don't have trust. And it really started in 2004 in the Jericho Forum, which is at least it was a UK headquartered centric, but with a global membership set of CIOs and CISOs, who basically were saying this model is dissolving. The perimeter-based security model of firewalls is no longer viable because of the advent of mobile and cloud. And therefore there is no one single perimeter that we can just defend. And at the same time, I think it's about 53% of attacks come from within the organization. So a firewall can't do anything about that at the perimeter. In 2010, John Kindervag coined the term zero trust while he was working at Forrester, the analyst firm. And the the point was to solve this problem of deperimeterization and to ensure that we're able to provide a consistent security strategy, regardless of where the data is and where the users are, to switch from trust but verify to never trust, always verify, to require continuous authorization, and to also increase visibility and analytics across the network. And so if we break that down further, we see zero trust has the ability to be a business enabler, but we have to make some fundamental assertions. Number one, the network is assumed to be hostile. The network should not be trusted. We assume internal and external threats exist on the network at all times. Network locality is not sufficient for deciding trust. Every user, device, and network flow has to be authenticated and authorized, and also that these policies must be dynamic and calculated from as many sources as possible. So I'm sure you're already seeing this, a huge departure from traditional network security, setting up a firewall, setting up a VPN, having static IP configurations, even building things like private APNs or MPLS, where we say, hey, someone's in my branch, therefore they're trusted. Someone's on my LAN network, ergo they're trusted. That does not work anymore. The whole concept is not fit for purpose. And a fantastic example of this is about a month ago, there was a very public article about a tester who had taken, I think it was 20 brands of Wi-Fi, ranging across various popular ones that had been delivered to customers over the last 2 decades, I think it was. Every single one of them had a flaw where you would effectively be able to man in the middle and decrypt everyone's data. So it doesn't matter whether you're building a VPN or an SD-WAN, or you've got a radius or a network access control solution. Effectively, someone could sit on your Wi-Fi and decrypt all your data, and therefore none of your data is secure. So why are we talking about zero trust? Let's put a bit of context. I'm going to give some examples, but I'm sure people can give way more than the ones I'm giving, because it seems like daily that attacks are happening. A few years ago, there was a very public hacking where a Jeep Cherokee was hacked via the LTE networks, the mobile radio access network, and by being able to get onto the mobile access network, they're able to get into the vehicle and control the vehicle, acceleration, deceleration, braking, etc. And they did that by jumping through the infotainment system. A few years ago, this was a little bit lower key. The German government didn't really want people to know about it, but effectively a whole steel mill melted. And the reason it melted is that people were able to get into the IT network, to laterally move into the operational technology network, the OT network, and then move to the controllers of the smelting operation, and effectively raise the parameters so that the controllers didn't know that the thing was getting hotter and hotter and hotter until it literally melted. And a whole steel mill that cost billions of dollars to build was lost. A few years ago, we had the power grid in Ukraine being shut down and having rolling blackouts. There was also the very public attack which started in Ukraine, which then affected Maersk and many other large organizations. Maersk almost stopped working as a business. Fortunately for them, they had it was like a DNS attack. So they had a DNS in a country in Africa, which somehow hadn't connected to the network. Therefore, they were able to rebuild everything in a few days and weeks rather than months or years, because they had that unaffected resource that they were able to take. If you look at IoT, the biggest thing holding it back in persistent surveys, but this one it's almost 50% of respondents, is cybersecurity, is threat of the network and people looking to compromise your business. We had an attack a few years ago in Saudi Arabia where if the attack had worked successfully, the plant would have blown up and people would have died. Fortunately, the code which the hackers were using had flaws in it, therefore it didn't execute properly. But if it had, it would have had terrible consequences. It would have been the first instance of people dying in a physical environment due to hacking. And a very recent one that we all know of is Colonial Pipeline. They had ransomware which originated into their IT network, and they were afraid of it going into their OT network, and it all was traced back to a single VPN login. And people go, well, maybe we should get MFA, maybe we should do XYZ, but fundamentally you need to go deeper. If you have a VPN, if you have a public attack surface which people are able to exploit, that is a very bad situation to be in, and we need to fix it. So within that context, what is the problem with traditional connectivity? Well, it's bolt on. We build the application, and then we build the network, and then we build the security. And this holds back innovation because it's slow. It takes us time to deploy. The amount of times I talk to people and say, hey, we're going to the cloud, give me 3 months while I set up a network. Therefore, application developers, the business, try to avoid going to the network and security team because they get slowed down. But it's also not secure enough. If we daisy chain lots of different solutions together, there are points at which we're doing decryption. There are points at which there is an exposed attack surface. There are points at which we're able to brute force or find some sort of backdoor into. And at the same time, we also lack control because we build up the complexity and people try to avoid us. The network, the security, it becomes gray. Going back to that previous slide on the challenge of IoT and cybersecurity, the reason it's a huge challenge is because when people start doing POVs and testing, they just don't put networking and security in. They're like, well, does the use case work? And as I scale up, I'll figure out those problems. And then you get to scaling problems and you go, whoa, all of a sudden I can't deploy 1,000 VPNs. That's a big challenge. No one wants to start with the security and the connectivity because it's such a challenge. And that's why we lack control. So what do we do to change it? Well, we flip the model. We switch from configuring boxes and wires to orchestrating software. We build in zero trust connectivity rather than trying to bolt it on. Now we have the ability to develop applications, to deploy solutions, to create instances on the cloud, and to make them secure and performant by design, to have zero trust connectivity built in to the solution from the get-go. What does this look like? Well, here is a Radius Cloud Exchange solution powered by Netfoundry, where we have the ability to put zero trust everywhere. We can deploy onto a user's laptop or mobile phone, as we have in the top left-hand side here. We support Linux, Android, iOS, any operating system. We have the ability to embed directly inside the application itself using software development kits. So you can create an application in .NET, Java, Golang, Node.js, whatever the application framework and library is. We're able to compile that zero trust directly into it. And that is based upon open source software for which Netfoundry is the largest contributor. It's called CT. We have the ability to deploy onto any remote location, any IoT sort of location. We've had customers that have deployed into kiosks, or we deployed into bakeries, or we deployed onto video cameras, because we're able to run on a Raspberry Pi or a NVIDIA Jetson or a Teltonica RUT240. These can be pieces of hardware that cost less than $100, and the Netfoundry operating system or tunnel sits on a very stripped down operating system. So very, very, very small footprints. I think it's small as like 2.5 meg or something like that. We have the ability to deploy into branch locations, whether it's the channel who wants to connect, whether it's IT who wants to connect, whether it's the enterprise and the branches that want to connect. We have the ability to deploy directly into any of those locations with our edge routers and our pieces of software. We also have the ability to deploy into any cloud, be it AWS or Google or Oracle or Azure or Alibaba. Again, the list goes on. It's software, so we can deploy into anything, and we're in the marketplaces of all those leading providers. We also have the ability to deploy into more cloud native type environments, Kubernetes or Docker, or we've even created endpoints that can deploy onto Nginx as a load balancer, or deploy into GitHub or GitLab, so you can have zero trust code repositories. And all of this is effectively extending the Radius Cloud Exchange edge, zero trust, to the user, to be as close to the application and data, so we can do the authentication, authorization, encryption, and therefore connect into the global fabric, the internet enhancing fabric, so we can provide highly performant, highly reliable, internet optimized connectivity over any connection, whether it's LTE or DIA or business broadband or 5G. It's internet connectivity, and then we can take a fully API-based approach. We can either use the pretty graphical user interface, or we can use DevOps tools. One of our customers uses or deploys zero trust connectivity within their continuous integration, continuous delivery framework. So they're using Jenkins and Ansible to orchestrate Netfoundry. So let's have a look at what those advantages are of the Radius solution. We're able to deploy into anything, whether it's server to server or client to server, and effectively make those workloads completely invisible to the public internet. I like to call this dark. You can have a application on-premise connecting to an application in AWS, and on both sides, you do not need inbound ports. You do not need to be, in fact, you're not exposed to the public internet, because we're using private IPs and private DNS to connect to other private instances. And this is based upon the fact that we've built an industry-leading zero trust, where it has embedded identity, bootstrapped identity, and multiple layers of advanced security, so that we make it incredibly secure by design. But then we also bring in the software-defined network overlay, the ability to improve the applications which are going over the solution, and to do it in an application-specific perspective, so it's non-disruptive, and to do all of that within the framework of very simple cloud-native API-driven architecture, so that you don't have to be Cisco certified to deploy it and manage it. You can either work with the GUI or you can work with the APIs, and it's based purely on software, so that you can connect anything, whether it's any cloud, any app, any host, any device. Zero trust anywhere. If you break that down into how you make this journey, we can see challenges that businesses normally have. The top obstacles that we see of people moving to a zero trust architecture. Number one is our current networks. They're complicated, unfortunately. We have heterogeneity with the underlying networks, with different wide area networks, with some internet, with some MPLS, with some VPNs, with different clouds. Maybe I even have different telcos. Maybe I even have multiple SD-WANs. A lot of businesses have a lot of complexity, and the question is, how do I make that easier? How do I make the journey more seamless? And then we have the complexity of zero trust, or at least the complexity of zero trust for most organizations, where you look at how do I do identity? How do I do authentication? How do I do the authorization? How do I build together all of these different components, because they're complex in themselves? And then we have the question of timing. How do I make this move? No one should just say, hey, I want to do zero trust. That's a bad approach. You need to understand what is the context of the business. What are the ongoing projects that we're able to empower with zero trust? How can I deliver business change and business improvements while also bringing in the benefits of zero trust? So therefore, understanding what are the different applications, the sites, the user groups, the clouds, they all evolve at different times, at different paths. And we don't want to just do a forklift migration where we go, oh, right, now everything's zero trust. We want to make a transition and transformation for the business, so that we're able to drive business value while also getting the benefits of built-in zero trust and internet optimization. And then also extensibility. Any organization that rolls out a solution that basically sits there for 5 years to be a sweated asset, like traditional hardware-based solutions, is a poor way to go. Therefore, we want to have a solution which has extensibility, has the ability to not just provide a return on investment for the initial scope, but is able to be extended, to be scaled, to be improved, to be added to, so that we get the benefits of a platform, we get the benefits of improvements over time for the business. And therefore, Netfoundry and the Radius Cloud Exchange solution gives us the ability to remove these 4 obstacles. Because if we look at the current networks, Netfoundry provides us a software-defined network overlay as a service. It enables us to connect absolutely anything and transport any IP-based connectivity, whatever the use case. There's some solutions out there that go, oh, we won't support VoIP, or we won't support this certain protocol, or we won't do this or that. We only do client to server, remote access. We don't do server to server. Oh no. Netfoundry we built from the perspective of being able to do everything. So we can do server to server, we can do client to server, we can do device, or we can embed inside the app, or we can embed inside the network. We can support remote access, we can support VoIP. We can go to IoT, and as I said earlier, we can go down to really, really tiny devices without having to ship a piece of hardware. And this enables us to remove the complexity of current solutions. We don't need static IP lists. We don't need VPNs. We don't need data diodes. And therefore, we remove huge amounts of complexity in the current network setup. At the same time, the complexity of traditional zero trust. Well, we provide zero trust as a service. We provide all of those components in a way which gives you the ability just to click in turnkey capabilities into the application or into the solution, so that we can have zero trust everywhere in an incredibly simple manner, but also an incredibly secure manner. Because again, there are people who say, hey, we're delivering zero trust. Now just build an IPsec tunnel to me. You've got exposed attack surface now on your cloud environment where you're building that IPsec tunnel from. Or they say, hey, I'll give you zero trust. Here's my firewall, and it's going to do user inspection. Well, now you're trusting the firewall, which is trust in the network. If there is a critical vulnerability in that firewall, or someone leaked credentials and passwords for that firewall, which happen very often, then your firewall can be attacked and your network can be attacked. Therefore, your applications are not secure. So by moving to zero trust with a software-defined perimeter where everything's absolutely invisible to the public internet, where we can go directly into the host or directly into the application, we make it way more secure. Let's take an example. If you embed RCE directly into the application and the server on which that application becomes compromised with, let's say, malware can't move across that connection because the application or the connection is application zero trust. If you look at Colonial Pipelines, great example, or JBS Meat, another one that happened, they shut down their OT side of their business. They shut down shipping oil or processing meat because their IT got compromised. But if they were connecting OT to IT using embedded zero trust, they'd just let OT run, because anything that's compromising the IT environment can't move into the OT environment. Then we look at timing. Because we have an application-specific architecture, we can roll out at whatever speed a business wants. Let's find the best application. Let's find the best solution that's moving to the cloud. Let's look at IoT or OT and just incrementally move that. How do we go in a multi-stage journey which reduces the business risk and enables us to target the use cases which are going to add most value? We don't know the answer to that, but by working with our business partners and collaborating, we're able to build up that story so we can move on an application-specific basis. Now we don't need to forklift the network, so it is lower risk. We're able to make a more successful journey. We're not doing just a big bang. We're not having to rip out hardware. We're not having to replace things, because you can keep the existing solution in place while we slowly go through the journey. So then you can remove the complexity in the underlay. You're able to remove components so that you're able to make the business more cost effective. And at the same time, extensibility. Well, we built a cloud native platform so that businesses can scale. Businesses can switch into using the APIs or using the automation orchestration, but we also are continually updating it. It is a platform. We release updates at least every 2 weeks. although we're actually doing it on a continuous integration, continuous delivery basis as well. But most importantly, that means that you get feature upgrades through time. Last year, one of our customers said, "Hey, you know what I'd really like? I'd like to do posture checks on the endpoint so that I can make sure the device is secure, that it's running the correct operating system, that the user can do MFA." And we went, "Cool, yeah, that's actually on our roadmap." And now it's been delivered. Now you can roll it out. And now they have all those benefits. They've not had to pay extra for it. They just get new and improved services. Another customer said to us recently, "Hey, we'd like to extend Zero Trust into GitLab because we host our code there. We see you've got this GitHub webhook. Can we have a GitLab Zero Trust webhook?" We said, tap, 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 here's some code. There you go. There's your Zero Trust webhook. So having that ability to have extensibility to add new capabilities mean that customers have an evergreen platform. Let's see how it compares. This is a traditional network solution. This is a user connecting into a corporate data center via a VPN, and then they're going onto MPLS to connect to the internet exchange point, and then they're going over a fast connect or an express route or a direct connect or whatever we're calling the cloud, layer 2 MPLS type connectivity. And then we're building a connection from a VNet, a VPC, a VCN into where the application is hosted. So it'll be let's say it's a private hosted, a private IP application. It's complex, it's horrible, it's got many issues in terms of rolling out, cost, and also security vulnerabilities. Well, if I can deploy Netfoundry and the RaDex Cloud Exchange directly into the application or into the host or even into the network, now I'm able to build outbound only connectivity. So the application still stays completely private. And therefore, I've built an app WAN, an application specific network, and all the rest of that solution just go away because it sucks. Now the business is able to innovate faster because people that are creating applications, people that are creating value for the business can just innovate, and they can put zero trust, secure, and performant network connectivity directly into their solution, directly into their application, so they can innovate faster while making sure the business drives security, reliability, predictability, etc. Let's take some use cases. Here's a utility company that we're working with RaDex, where they wanted to be able to support work from home, work from anywhere, to also enable access to Office 365, to provide multi-cloud private connectivity between sites and their environments. So effectively, it's all the use cases. And that was easy. We just deployed directly onto their endpoints, whether it's for developers or users. We deployed into their cloud environments in a few minutes from the marketplace. We had images to go into their private cloud as well. And we were able to deploy also into their branch locations. And we created this zero trust secure overlay between everything, where we're able to make policy-driven outcomes for connecting securely people's applications. Here's another one, where a privacy management platform company all across the globe, but where they've got a very large workforce within the Philippines, they wanted to create multi-region cloud. And they wanted to remove the headache of doing work from anywhere because their VPNs sucked, because all VPNs suck. And therefore, they deployed Netfoundry and the RaDex Cloud Exchange directly into their AWS environments from the AWS marketplace in a few minutes. And they deployed the endpoints onto people's devices and their mobiles, whether they were developers in the Philippines, whether they were developers in the US or developers in Canada. And we created this full secure overlay connection for them so that they're able to really get the value of all of that. And so in summary, we're able, with the RaDex Cloud Exchange powered by Netfoundry, to drive transformational innovation for companies and to future-proof their business. And we're able to do this because we reduce the risk to their business. We make things invisible to the public internet, and we therefore massively reduce the attack surface of an organization. We effectively give the benefits of a private network, an MPLS, but on top of your internet. In fact, I'd go way beyond that because you build MPLS and people can go anywhere on it, but we do it from a very granular perspective. So you can make everything, whether it's IoT, whether it's remote users, whether it's cloud connectivity, massively reduce the attack surface. But at the same time, we can also increase user productivity because we make the performance of their applications better. Whereas normally network and security solutions reduce the performance and reliability, we increase it. Therefore, not only do people want to use it because it gives them better performance and reliability, but they want to use it while being more secure. So rather than trying to avoid security, they embrace security. At the same time, we're able to transform the innovation of their organization because developers, the business creators, the people in the business who are creating value are able to rapidly create new capabilities, to build new outcomes, and to build in secure, programmable, performant and reliable connectivity directly into their solution. So they no longer have to wait weeks or months for networking and security to provision X, Y, Z. And at the same time, we're able to continually deliver value for the organization because we are able to create new capabilities and build that into the platform. No need to refresh the hardware or anything like that. And at the same time as that, we're able to deliver optimal total cost of ownership. Because it's a consumption-based solution, we're able to drive a fully OpEx outcome so that businesses don't have to have huge amounts of CapEx, where they don't have to go out and buy 10, 100, 1,000 new pieces of hardware. And at the same time, we're able to optimize their total cost of ownership because you no longer have to maintain, 5 Cisco certified people to be fixing your VPNs when they break, because VPNs always break. We're able to automate, deliver network as a service, highly automated, highly orchestrated, highly self-healing, and deliver that really in that as a service model. We had SaaS, then we had IaaS, now we have NAS, network as a service. And that network as a service enables us to deliver zero trust, which can be built in by design so that businesses are able to transform themselves and innovate faster. With that, it's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for everyone attending and listening. If you have any questions, we would be happy to answer them. Thank you so much. Bye.
KEO is an enterprise for creative design, engineering, and project management in the built environment. We have 8 offices across the Middle East and Europe, and we draw from the expertise from over 60 nations, bringing experience from every major market of the globe. We were looking for a partner that will help us implement scalable and cost-effective technologies to address some of the challenges related to MPLS and other specialized connections. When we were introduced to the Netfoundry, we quickly realized we were presented with a fantastic network as a service product using automated traffic optimization by leveraging dynamic, application-specific traffic routing. Netfoundry provides the agility, innovation, and flexibility to meet the needs of a modern business such as ours. To me, direct benefits are its on-demand OpEx and cloud-native model, the ability to extend and scale with our cloud-orchestrated software, including integrating with other best-in-class solutions and technologies, is second to none. We have quickly modernized KEO network to innovate without friction, so IT can focus on differentiation, not administration. And most important for our operations, it simplifies management and network operations with a cloud-native global framework fabric that instantly provisions and deprovisions network connections as needed.
The Network as a Service solution by Netfoundry allows us to provision and deprovision users, services, and gateways quickly and monitor the performance of the fabric in real time through their web console. Users can very easily download and install the client from whichever location they were in and access their services securely. I believe that with the SDN solution provided by Netfoundry, customers have a low-cost alternative to the expensive firewalls and the traditional VPN termination hardware that are commonly used. Ports need to be opened on firewalls and the equipment need to be constantly patched. and logs monitored for any breaches. The Netfoundry solution effectively eliminates the need for opening any ports or IPs to any services from the internet.
When COVID-19 hit, we were fortunate to be using Netfoundry platform for our multi-cloud, and we simply extended the platform to work from anywhere. We have delivered with ease our zero trust connectivity at an application, device, edge, or cloud layer. Netfoundry helps us safely connect our customers to the resources they need, no matter where they are. Networking needs to enable the velocity, ability, and the innovation that KEO business now needs to thrive. We have used Netfoundry to transform the network from an obstacle into a source of innovation by connecting global teams to the resources they need, when and where they need them. Netfoundry is our digital backbone that securely scales with our needs, wherever they may be.
Well, hello and good morning, everyone. And I hope you've had your coffee because up next is our Q&A session. And to answer your questions, we have with us today the Country Director of Netfoundry Philippines, Mr. Anchit Mendoza. Hi, Anchit.
Hello, Corinne. Good morning. Good morning to everyone. Thank you for having me.
All right, good morning. So guys, please feel free to send your questions for Anchit via the Zoom chat box, and we'll try to answer as many of them as possible. So while we were waiting for your questions, it's time to give a shout out to our early birds in the audience. So, guys, we know it's already a Friday and then the weekend feels are kicking in, but we're very thankful that you got up early to join our virtual event. So without you knowing, we've actually been monitoring your logins on our Zoom account. So that's why we're giving away 1,000 pesos worth of Grab vouchers to our early birds. So drum roll, please. And the winners for the early bird awards are Mike Jose. And then we also have another Mike. So it's Mike Cruz. And then another winner is Benji. And then we also have Renzi Awa. And then we have Bobet Castillo. So congratulations, guys. And thank you for logging in early to our event. There. Okay, you'll be receiving, by the way, your Grab vouchers via email. But for those of you who didn't receive any award yet, don't worry because we have another raffle coming up at the end of this episode. So make sure you stick around. All right, so now it looks like we have some questions in already and we can start our Q&A. So Anchit, are you ready?
Fire away, Corinne.
All right, okay. So our first question is, many of our end user devices run Linux and also have a combination of Windows and Mac. How can I use Netfoundry in such an environment?
Okay. We support Linux, Windows, and Mac OS. We have even adopted Ubuntu as the OS for our edge routers. And we support Ubuntu endpoint devices as well. What's key here is the support provided by the OS providers, security-wise. Hence, regardless if that is Windows, Mac, Linux, Ubuntu, iOS, or Android, we will support it as long as the OS provider supports it.
Okay. All right. So actually, that's perfect for those who don't like being limited to just one OS and, love being able to freely use both Mac and Windows, right? Okay. So our second question from the audience is, are there any other partnerships with hyperscalers?
Yes, Corinne. Other than our co-sell partnerships with AWS and Azure, we've established new ones. That's with Oracle, Google, Alibaba, and IBM. We will continue to do so and expand it accordingly to ensure that we are relevant to everyone's digital transformation initiatives. Just to share an Oracle press release, Corinne, Oracle pointed out that Netfoundry security tools can be used to build higher levels of security into its Oracle Autonomous Database and Private Kubernetes API network, enabling application developers to build secure networking directly into the applications as part of a movement known as infrastructure as code, but we like to call it security as a code. So that's a press release from Oracle.
Okay, all right. So apart from all the other advantages that were mentioned earlier and what you just said, are there any other advantages that Netfoundry provide?
Beyond our industry-leading 6 layers ZTNA capabilities and application-specific networking, we are able to deliver 3 more things. One is a centralized orchestration environment, providing you a single pane of glass that enables the ability to operate and manage relevant use cases efficiently and with agility and flexibility. The second one, the platform unlocks innovation, providing embedded networking up to the application level, programmable and API driven. It is an open source platform delivered as network as a service. And finally, the subscription is pay-per-use. It's 100% OpEx, and definitely a lower TCO model compared to traditional technologies such as MPLS or VPN.
Okay, so given that, actually, the next question is, can we leverage Netfoundry with our existing SWG or secure web gateway investment with another security vendor?
Definitely, Corinne. So APIs and SDKs are designed for integrations. This includes third-party security, Microsoft Intune, CrowdStrike, SentinelOne, as well as leading IAM and identity management platforms like Azure AD or Okta, as well as SIEM or Splunk or ELK.
Okay. All right. The next question is actually a bit of a cheeky question. So, who are the competitors in the ZTN or zero trust networking space? And don't you think security vendors are better placed to lead in the ZTN space?
Okay. So yeah, that's a tricky question. But openly, on the ZTN space, we compete with the likes of Zscaler and Kato Networks. Others are still new to ZTNA. But what's unique to Netfoundry is our ability to embed ZT into the application. We don't have any competitors in that space, Corinne. With embedding Netfoundry into your application, you can now do away with your private networking infrastructure.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Anchit. So I think that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you so much for indulging everybody's question.
You're welcome, Corinne.
All right, so now we move on to the most important part of the event, which is the group photo. So can we ask everybody to please turn on their camera so we can immortalize this event? So, okay, if you're shy to turn your camera on, we have a little incentive for you, actually. The 5 audience members with the biggest smiles will receive a special prize. So we're giving away more Grab vouchers, and that's 2,000 pesos worth of Grab vouchers to be exact. All right, we're gonna do this 3 times, guys. So ready? All right, so for the first shot, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, so for the second shot, 1, 2, 3. All right, one more time. Smile for the Grab vouchers. All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we have it. Perfect. All right, so thank you very much, everyone. We have so many happy faces out there, and hold on, let me see. The collective choice for the biggest smile winners are, so first winner is Joseph Evan Tizon. And then the second winner is Alex Camuyado. The third winner is Gerald Chua. And then the fourth winner is William Montalvo. And then the last but not the least is Joey Quevedo. I hope I pronounced it right, Joey. So congratulations and thank you for flashing your pearly whites. All right, your grab vouchers will be emailed to you shortly. And guys, we'd love to hear from you. So if you have any comments or questions, you may send an email or contact Jonafe Pontino at jopontino@radius.ph or at 0928-551-0519. We'll also be emailing you a post-event survey, and we hope you can share your feedback on this experience. And now I give the floor back to Anchit for the closing remarks.
Okay, thank you, Corinne. So before I close the second episode of RaDex, I would like to thank a few individuals that made this event possible. To Kiel and Beng, thank you for the support as always. To Alan, Larry, and the entire sales and marketing teams of Radius, kudos for another great episode of RaDex. To the entire team of AdSpin, led by RJ, maraming salamat. And to my team, Bernice and Philip of Netfoundry, well done, guys. Thank you so much. In closing, on behalf of Radius and Netfoundry, I would like to thank you, our customers and partners, for spending your time with us this morning. I truly believe that we have shared with you valuable insights as you plan your security transformation journey. Here are 3 takeaways as food for thought. First, cyber criminals are real and they are equipped to bring you nightmares. So plan, strategize, execute now. Okay, now na. Okay. Second, be aware that a breach will not only expose your infra or data, but it kills your very essence of existence. A tarnished reputation will definitely eliminate your ability to compete in your industry. And that is regardless how superior your product is. And last, security transformation is driven by both culture and technology. Culture comprises of people, process, and organization. While for technology, embrace zero trust and a secure by design approach that delivers a far better secured user experience. With that, I formally close the second edition of RaDex. Please do reach out to us to jumpstart your ZT journey. Thank you again and enjoy the rest of the day. Keep safe, everyone.